NZXT's BLD service provides hand-built PCs using off-the-shelf parts which are tested and come with a 2-year warranty. Well, they have now added the NZXT BLD Foundation PC to the lineup. Hey YouTube, what's going on? I'm Danny with Danny's Tech Channel. First, let me explain what the Foundation PC is. This is a PC without a dedicated GPU that can still play games. How does it do this, you might ask? With an APU, of course, or Accelerated Processing Unit. AMD created APU processors in 2011, and they were the first CPUs with built-in graphics good enough to game on. This is NZXT's solution to the GPU shortage, and it lets you upgrade the PC later by just popping in a dedicated GPU to improve performance, if they ever come in stock. These PCs come in at a low price of $799 USD. What does that price give you might ask? Well, for starters, it comes with one of AMD's newest APUs, the Ryzen 5 5600G. This processor is 6 cores and 12 threads and boosts up to 4.4 GHz. It comes with Radeon Vega 7 graphics at 1900 MHz. The other parts that NZXT includes with this build is a deep-cool GAMX GTE V2 CPU cooler, 16 GB of RAM running at 3000 MHz, a B550 ATX motherboard, a 500 GB M.2 SSD, 650 watts 80 plus bronze power supply, an MSI B905C Wi-Fi adapter card, all wrapped in an NZXT H510 case. Now I know that sounds like a lot of cool stuff, but that's really the bare bones components you need to be able to have a PC. But it doesn't even include a dedicated GPU because the APU, of course, is going to be running your graphics. Now, it's really not that bad if you think about it because $799 is the absolute cheapest price you'll find a gaming PC for brand new from a manufacturer with a warranty like that. Now, I have a small problem with the Foundation PC, and that is that you can easily build it better for less money on your own. I added all the parts included in the Foundation to a PC part picker list, and the total comes to just over $650 if you buy everything yourself. I also included a PC part picker list of my Foundation PC. These parts I have here come in under $799, which if you remember is what the Foundation PC costs, but it gives you a better computer. I basically have the same options other than the processor, the RAM, and the case, and the CPU cooler. The processor I'm using as an upgrade from the 5600G is the Ryzen 7 5700G. This is also an APU. It comes in at 8 cores, 16 threads instead of the 6 core, 12 thread, and boosts all the way up to 4.6 GHz. This processor includes Vega 8 graphics at 2000 MHz, so it gives you that little boost in gaming performance over the Vega 7 graphics. I also included faster RAM. This is the G.Skill Ripjaw series. I'm using the G.Skill TridentZ series, but it's basically the same sticks. This is 2 8GB sticks at 3200 MHz. Just that little boost in performance will really help out the APU. I also swapped out the CPU cooler from the deep-cool GAMX GTE V2 to the Vetroo V5. This is really just because the Vetroo I had on hand here, I don't have a GAMX GTE V2 cooler, so. And finally, we got a much better case in my Better BLD because I chose the Fractal Design Meshify 2 Compact. This case is awesome, it's got tons of airflow, it's easy to build in, and it looks great too. I did a complete review on this case, and I'll link it down in the description or I'll leave it up in the YouTube card if you want to check it out. Not only are the parts better and cheaper, but it also makes gaming performance better as well. Let's talk about that performance comparing my Better Foundation PC to NZXT's BLD. As you might have seen on NZXT's website, they had performance numbers written in there, and this is their guaranteed performance. It gives you a small snapshot of what you can expect for gaming performance with their BLD systems. They do this for all their systems, their starter, their pros, and now their Foundation as well has these numbers on it. I did some comparing between my Better BLD to NZXT's performance numbers on their website for their version of the Foundation PC. These games were ran on 1080p medium settings, just like the BLD performance numbers they have on their site. The first game I tried out was Valorant. Valorant on the Foundation PC runs 112 FPS average at 1080p. My Better BLD system ran 133 FPS average. Same settings, same resolution, better FPS. Next game was League of Legends. The Foundation PC ran 185 FPS. My Better BLD ran 220.4 FPS. Fortnite runs at 72 FPS on the Foundation PC. My Foundation PC ran 120.1 FPS. This is no GPU right off the system. I ran Fortnite on the Pro settings because when I ran it just on medium by itself, it tanked the FPS. I don't think NZXT tested on the actual medium presets. I think they ran performance settings as well. It's like a beta option that you can flip a toggle switch. But the performance was good and the graphics weren't that bad actually for not having a GPU. Now, something I wanted to do was throw in an extra game because I'm sure some of you are wondering, well, that's great, Danny, that I can run Valorant and Fortnite and League of Legends at high frame rates without a GPU, but what if I want to play a AAA title like Halo Infinite? Well, I decided to test that out and see if this PC could even run it at all without a GPU. And guess what? It can. Now, it's not a really great experience, but NZXT doesn't have Halo Infinite tested on their site, and I didn't buy a BLD because why would I do it when I can build a better one? But for my testing, I got 36.9 FPS average on Halo Infinite. The fact that this PC could even play it was impressive enough to me. If you're playing Halo on something older than an Xbox Series S or Series X, you're gonna be getting 30 FPS anyways. So it's really like a console experience at that point, but it gives you something to start with the option to upgrade later. And you can game now, and as you can see, you can even game on AAA titles, just not really the best experience. Now, let's say a few months go by, or a few years, and you get your hands on a dedicated GPU like an RTX 3060 Ti, and you wanna pop it into your Foundation PC. What kind of performance numbers can you expect from it? Take a look at these increases from my original numbers to with the dedicated GPU. Now, I jumped all these settings up to ultra or maxed out on 1080p because it really wasn't a fair comparison at medium settings. You're actually hitting the game engine limit. On Valorant, with the 3060 Ti in the Foundation PC here, it ran 282.3 FPS average versus the 133 that my original system was getting. On League of Legends, I got 235.1 FPS average versus the 220.4. On Fortnite, I got 122.8 FPS average versus the 120.1. And on Halo Infinite, I got 113.4 versus the 36.9. It made it a much better playable experience. I didn't realize how bad less than 60 FPS is until I jumped back up to 120 FPS. This PC is the foundation to building a great gaming PC. Now, I have a few small problems with the Foundation PC, but they're easy to get past if you don't mind these three issues. The first one is AAA titles are really gonna be a no-go. I would recommend not playing AAA titles on this thing until you get a dedicated GPU. Second issue is APUs love fast RAM, but NZXT does not pair fast RAM with this system. 3000 megahertz is decent, but it's not really what you want for an APU. That's why I threw 3200 megahertz in here, or ideally you could try to find 3600 to slap into this system. And you'll see an increase in frame rate every time you upgrade. So if you go from 3000 to 3200, 3200 to 3600, you're gonna see an FPS increase every step of the way. The third issue, which I didn't run into at this time when I popped the GPU into the system, but I have ran into it in the past, is APU systems, when you throw in a dedicated GPU, they get a little confused sometimes, and they'll try to run off the integrated graphics through the GPU port. That's without plugging it into the motherboard. When you're running an APU system without the dedicated GPU, you'll plug your HDMI port or your display port into the motherboard itself. Well, once you pop in the GPU, you're gonna need to use the ports on the back of the GPU to run your display off of, not the motherboard side. Remember that if you decide to get a GPU and throw it in there. I didn't run into this issue this time. I popped in the GPU, I plugged into it with my HDMI cord, but I have had it in the past where I pop it in, I plug into my GPU, and the computer goes all wonky and then it won't display anything. And then I've had to troubleshoot and figure that out from there. So just keep that in mind when you're deciding to go with an APU system and you think you're gonna switch to a GPU in the future. This setup gets you into PC gaming now without worrying about the GPU shortage, all for a decent price. Would I recommend the BLD Foundation PC? Well, my answer is twofold. I'd say yes and no. There's a customer for both these setups. If you don't know how to build a gaming PC, you want something that's easy, plug and play, ready to game, and it comes with a warranty, get the Foundation PC. Now, if you're mechanically inclined or experienced in building PCs and you want the absolute best price for performance gaming PC you can get, go with my Better BLD system. And I'll leave a link for the PC part picker list down below in case you want to go and buy these parts on your own and make this happen. And if you're interested in any more PC building tips and ideas, make sure you subscribe down below and click that bell so you'll be notified of any future content. And as I always say, I'm Danny with Danny's Tech Channel, and I'll see you in the next video.